The space is thick with sweat and blood. Samuel Doe, the once mighty ruler of Liberia, sits battered and trembling, tells a story of suffering. Around him, rebels jeer and shout. At the center of it all stands Prince Yormie Johnson, his cold eyes fixed on his prey, Samuel Doe. This is the end for Samuel Doe. He had come to the free port of Monrovia seeking protection from the West African Peacekeeping Force, ECOWAS. Instead, he was met by an ambush. Prince Johnson's forces had laid a trap, slaughtering those guards in a vicious attack. The president, once the most powerful man in Liberia, was dragged down from the bullet-ridden convoy like a captured animal. Inside the rebel headquarters, the real horror began. Cameras rolled as Prince Yormie Johnson loomed over his prisoner, Samuel Doe, asking him, "You killed so many people. Now you think you can escape? Where is your power now?" There would be no mercy. The torture began immediately. The first strikes had come with swift punches to the ribs. Then came the knives. Samuel Doe's ears were sliced off. Fingers were broken, one by one. He was forced to eat pieces of his own flesh. Every plea, every whimper was met with laughter and blow. The pain was endless, the humiliation absolute. For hours, the torture continued. Doe's breathing became ragged, his voice barely a whisper. His body slumped forward, no longer able to hold itself upright. Johnson, growing impatient, gave the final command to finish him. Gunfire rang out. Samuel Doe collapsed, lifeless. His corpse was dragged out through the streets of Monrovia, his once feared body desecrated for all to see. Why was Samuel Doe treated this way? Samuel Doe did not die a soldier's death. He did not die a hero. He died in agony, humiliated and mutilated because of the horrors he inflicted on Liberia. His rule, which began with promise of liberation, had turned into a reign of terror. In 1980, Samuel Doe rose to power in a bloody coup, executing President William Tolbert and his government. He ruled with an iron fist, silencing dissent with arrests, torture, and mass executions. His forces massacred ethnic groups, fueled corruption, and drove Liberia into ruin. The people suffered, the economy collapsed, and resentment grew. Then came Charles Taylor Rebellion in 1989. The war raged for months, tearing Liberia apart. Though desperate to hold on to power, unleashed brutal counterattacks, slaughtering civilians in his paranoia. But his army crumbled, his enemies multiplied, and his fate was sealed. By the time he was captured, Liberia's people saw him not as a leader, but as a symbol of everything they had suffered. The rebels did not just want him dead. They wanted him to feel the pain he had inflicted on so many others. His torture was not just an execution. It was retribution, vengeance, carried out by those who had lost everything under his rule. Samuel Doe's death was one of the most brutal ever recorded. His final moments remain a haunting testament to the cost of tyranny. But his demise did not bring peace. Liberia continued to bleed, descending into more chaos and war. The cycle of violence did not end with him.